So BenQ have been heading towards gaming monitors in a big way for the past few years. I mentioned before when I reviewed the BenQ EL2870U that BenQ could be seen in offices around the world as a monitor for work use. But that perception is very quickly changing. Yes, they have a range of work use monitors, but they also have an impressive gaming lineup as well, which the BenQ EX2780Q is a part of, and the one that we've got here today. The BenQ EX2780Q Gaming Monitor is very neat and tidy, with skinny bezels on the sides and top, with a smart grey finish to the actual bottom, although it does look a little bit more bronzy depending on the light. Now it's classed as bezel-less according to BenQ's marketing, and there's no physical bezels, but there are flush to screen bezels. It's not quite edge to edge, but it is close. It's got some skinny bezels, and most of what you're going to be seeing is screen anyway if you're sitting right in front of it, but it's definitely not bezel-less. Now the stand itself that it's sitting on is also rather basic. It's a small form factor type stand that does the job and allows you to stash items that you may need, like SD memory cards, the monitor's remote control, or anything else, for example, anything small, and it actually looks alright but lacks in functionality you would normally find in gaming monitors at this price. There is tilt capabilities, so if you're a taller person you can angle the monitor upwards towards your face. Now however, there is no swivel, so you can't turn it left and right without turning the entire item, and there is also no height adjustment either. One thing however about the BenQ EX2780Q is that it's quite thick, with dimensions of 614 by 459 by 196 millimeters. There is a VESA 100 mounting section on the rear too if you wanted to stick it on the wall or on a monitor arm, and the thickness though is down to the 2.1 speaker setup that can be found inside. The grille is stretched across the top half of the monitor, across the back, and inside are a pair of 2-watt speakers and a 5-watt subwoofer. Now, of course, the quality isn't going to match an external 2.1 system you may have set up on your PC, but if you're wanting to do some bedroom gaming, it's really not that bad. Now, bass, of course, is lacking somewhat due to the size of the subwoofer, but the clarity is rather nice. It's also pretty loud as well, and you'll be struggled to play media at top volume. Down the rear right hand side you can find a few buttons as well as a joystick to cycle through all of the BenQ's menus, which is something they have upgraded from their older monitors. The two separate buttons are for shortcuts to choose which input you're using, whether it's a DisplayPort or one of the HDMI 2.0 inputs, or the USB-C input that you can find there as well, and the other change is the color mode. There is, however, and it's really the first time I've seen anything like this on such a conventional monitor, is the remote control, and how life has just become so much easier to get through menu systems with it. I have no idea why other manufacturers haven't included this in this kind of setup before. Now the monitor is a 2560 by 1440p 27-inch screen that utilizes IPS technology to bring you richer colors and wider viewing angles. It also features 144Hz refresh rate as well as Freesync technology for those adaptive refresh rates, and finally HDR, which is a little hit and miss here due to the overall 400 nits of peak brightness when HDR is switched on. Now I never really used HDR because of the max brightness, and also because I've been let down in the past when it comes to gaming monitors with HDR capability. Here though, HDR comes in 3 different effects, one for gaming, cinema, and something called display HDR. Now when playing games it brought out a bit more detail in the dark areas, while on cinema HDR it crushed the blacks even further. The HDR also uses technology called HDR-I, which I is of course intelligent, which means it has intelligent lighting. Now there's a sensor, which I believe is actually housed here, pretty sure it's housed there, in the bottom bezel, that decides how much light is in the room and chooses the monitor brightness based on this. Now I usually sit in a darkened room anyway, pretty much most of the time, and the monitor ended up looking very dim, so HDR was pretty much kept off for my entire time with this monitor. If you did want to use the monitor for its HDR purposes though, then stick to Cinema HDR. It offered the better contrast ratio out of the 3 options to choose from. Looking at the plethora of picture profiles that are supplied with the monitor, like for gaming, reading, blue light, and there are far more on there. I found for gaming that Gamer 2 was the best, which makes the image very bright and very sharp, and also gives it a more cool looking tone. I kept the black equalizer setting to around 6, while the color vibrance setting was left around 10. I did also run the monitor through my Data Color Spider X Elite tool used for color correcting monitors and got some very interesting results, and most notably in the 10-bit color accuracy, which hits 100% sRGB, 91% Adobe RGB and 94% of the P3 color gamuts. I did see that it's got a contrast ratio of 870:1, which was a little subpar, I thought. For gaming though, the BenQ EX2780Q gaming monitor performed pretty flawlessly. Now I'm playing a few games right now and all perform very well. The monitor has a 144 refresh rate, as I said, as well as Freesync technology, and I noticed no visible tearing when sprinting around fast games like Doom Eternal. Colours inside of games look great too, and that was evident during, again, Doom Eternal, but Heroes of the Storm is another one that looked great, but also the scenery in Call of Duty Modern Warfare and the first-person shooter called Hell Let Loose, the foliage as well as the mud and water on the ground just all looked pretty fantastic and very, very sharp. The EX2780 gaming monitor is a decent pick if you're going to be using it for its internal speaker performance, and while it can hold its own while playing games, and even with its HDR performance, if you stick to its cinema HDR settings, I feel that there are better options out there that cost less than the current ticket price of the EX2780, like the Asus MG2780, the Acer Predator XB241H, or even BenQ's Zowie range, which are coming down in price slowly. However, though, you are losing that IPS panel quality, and if color accuracy is super important to you, if you're like me who uses their screen to game and also edit videos and photos for YouTube, for example, then the BenQ EX2780 is a decent choice. So thank you very much for checking out our video review of the BenQ EX2780Q. If you enjoyed this video, then do click that like button, subscribe to keep up with our latest tech and gaming videos, and also let us know in the comments below what you think about this monitor, whether you would go for something like this. I'll leave a link to a spec list as well, so you can find it there. But let us know, what do you think? We'd like to hear from you. As I said before, thanks very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.